Hello, this is the Cowboys and Unicorns podcast. I'm David.
And this is Dan Tiernan. What's up?
How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Man, we have no guests today.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Feels nice, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's getting back to just a conversation without any sort of like wild card of...
Yeah, some of that, pressure of being interviewers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been trying to figure out how to it's hard to not just interview somebody because obviously we want to have open communication and a conversational tone. But yeah, when it's somebody you don't know, you're kind of just asking questions.
Right, it's that hard balance, and I mean, people can tell us in the comments, but hopefully we've been doing an okay job of, when you don't know someone at all, you have to try and ask enough questions till you get some common ground that then you can, from there, then you can go from there. But
yeah, my brother John was telling me he thinks it's important, and this might be really boring. This is strategizing how to make the podcast better on the podcast. My brother John was saying that we got to make sure that we continue with our own point of views and our own commentary and talking and not just sit there and ask questions, which is a goal of mine.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's kind of like you get in the trenches and then you forget to think sometimes, But
what are you smoking, Dave?
I am smoking some Orlick tobacco. It is the Dark Strong Kentucky, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's a Virginia tobacco, and it comes in a flake cut, which means basically it comes in pre-cut little rectangles, and then you have to actually crumble it up and break it up to get it to be a nice fine consistency you can pack your bowl. But it's a fantastic smoke. I guess I've probably only smoked 30 tobaccos, but it's in my top 5, so
nice.
It's pretty good. What are you smoking?
I have some tobacco from my coworker, RJ Deutsch.
Yeah, RJ.
Shout out to RJ. And let's see here. It's called Lane BCA Pipe Tobacco. I don't know anything about tobacco, but it's super tasty to me. I tried it last night. Yeah, I think so. Here, I'll toss it over to Dave and see if he's got any notes on it. So yeah, my coworker, he said he bought a bunch of tobacco for his pipe, but he doesn't smoke that often, and he's kind of gave me the ones he didn't like as much. Yeah. So
it's probably
thanks,
a Black
RJ.
Cavendish or something like that. Seems to be.
Yeah, and I'm drinking just straight up Jameson right now. Jameson Irish whiskey. It has a pretty sweet label, so I was kind of stoked on that while I was at the store. Label got me to spend a couple extra dollars. Then I was gonna go in and spend $20, and then I was like, well, I guess I spent $27.
It's pretty cool. And I mean, you can put that on the podcast costing sheet so we can track how much the Jameson cost.
Oh, right.
Right.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet now with our podcast costs. So far, we spent $0 on advertising. So
yep.
Amen.
So keep spreading the word, since no one really shared our giveaway, but no shame.
Right, we're doing giveaways and collabs.
Right.
That's kind of our strategy here for growth.
I'm pretty stoked though. We've got to talk with some cool people, which really is.
Oh yeah.
That's the whole goal of it. So it's been fulfilling so far.
Completely. What are you drinking?
I am drinking some spiced chai tea. So I've never tried tea along with smoking a pipe, but it actually is kind of funny, and I'm not sure how much I'll stick to this, but for the first time ever, I looked up statistics of it's okay, maybe I should be an informed person if I'm going to be a fairly regular pipe smoker and understand my risks of cancer and such. And the amazing thing is that the risks are super, super low. So, like, the normal person who doesn't smoke, and I don't know what these numbers correlate to, right? But it's like normal person who doesn't smoke, their number is like a 1.0. And then someone who smokes 10 bowls of tobacco in a week, their number is like a 1.5. And then when you get up to smoking cigarettes and stuff, it's like a 3.6 or something like that. As far as like, that's got to correlate to some probability of your chances of getting cancer of sorts. But
right, but like, so overall that sounds like kind of small, like those numbers. But if you think of like 1 to 1.5 as a whole half jump.
Yeah, it's
like
true.
It's not doubling. It's like it's adding an extra half of a percentage.
Right. But then the other shocking statistic is that people who smoke that much, so like 10 bowls of tobacco in a week, live 3% longer than people who don't smoke. So,
right, and it's obviously you can't really tell causation or correlation there.
Right. But then, I mean, a lot of people speculate, obviously, that that's because people who, enjoy a cigar or a pipe are taking time to, like, sit down,
relax,
focus on breathing, relax, and so they're just less stressed.
It does make you breathe. It's like
it's
like meditation.
Shout out to Coach Corey.
Dude,
but
smoking is the new meditation,
basically. But then back to my tea point, and Dan, I'm sorry since you're drinking whiskey right now, but your chances of like any type of cancer jump radically when you drink alcohol while you're smoking, because the alcohol kills some type of protective things in your mouth. Obviously, I'm very scientific. And
fake news, Dave. I'm calling fake news on this one. I think alcohol is great for the body. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, alcohol is not good for you, so not super surprising. I follow liquor.com on Facebook.
Liquor.com.
Yeah, it's a pretty good site. They've got a lot of, I haven't been on there in a while, but they have a lot of like cocktail recipes and articles about booze and stuff. But they're always like sharing articles that are like, new study says, drinking whiskey is great for you, or
right.
Like, and they find it's not like the same article they share all the time. It's
right.
All sorts of ones. So,
well, I mean, it's everything in moderation too,
including moderation.
Yeah, moderation.
Oscar
and
Wilde.
Moderation. So yeah, that's what I'm drinking. I will go to a beer or some whiskey here in a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna. I don't know, a drink and a pipe just pair too well together, so I'm not going to get too hung up on that. And I'm going to die somehow someday. So
I'm starting to like pipe smoking more as you taught me how to pack it correctly,
right,
which helps it smoke, and the more I do it, I the more I like it.
It's totally, there's a lot more maintenance when you're new to it, but once you actually figure out how to keep it burning without relighting and stuff all the time, I kind of actually appreciate like the whole like ritual that goes into
it's tactile,
preparing your tobacco and then packing your bowl and lighting it, and kind of like the entire thing all the way down to cleaning out your bowl at the end of a smoke. There's just kind of a cool process that goes into it, instead of just grabbing a cigar and lighting it up.
Right. You have to be more involved in the whole smoke.
Right. Yeah. There's just something kind of neat about that. But anyways.
And the odor it's not as all-encompassing as a cigar. Like your clothes are going to stink a little bit. Your mouth, your breath is definitely going to stink. But it's not the same like coming back inside from smoking a cigar. You're just like, you reek. And if anybody else doesn't like that smell, you're just like immediately rude.
Yeah. In general, people who like don't appreciate cigar smoke, in general, I've found that they don't really mind pipe smoke. It's just a little bit lighter, especially like an aromatic like you have.
For sure.
Really sweet tones and different things like that. But then there's people, it's John Franey's wife, Johanna, like pipe smoke gives her a headache and she doesn't really mind cigar smoke. So
that's interesting.
To each his own, I guess.
Yeah.
Or her own. happen.
I just I like the smell, the taste, everything.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
if cigarettes weren't so bad for you,
Really?
oh yeah, I would smoke cigarettes. But it's not good for you, and my wife would kill me. So.
Well, and there's something to it, at least for me personally. I mean, pipe smoking is not addictive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so even like health concerns aside, I'm the type of person like. Generally, I would probably get addicted to something fairly quickly if it was addictive.
For sure, yeah.
And so I'm not the type of person that wants to like
let
something become my idol or whatever. But
yeah, I don't want to be addicted to cigarettes either. I just like every time I smell it.
Yeah.
Like some people hate that. Like, oh, people are smoking. Ew. And
it's
I
true.
have to
I don't
walk
mind
through
the
this.
smell either.
I walk by like, it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, best to not go down that path.
And they're expensive.
Right. I don't really need another expense in my life right now.
No. Just buy the pipe tobacco. It's way cheaper and cooler.
And the Jameson.
Classier. Yep, all that stuff.
So what have you been up to lately, Dave?
I suppose we haven't talked too much about our lives in the last few episodes because we've been
quick life update. Not like a half hour, just 90 seconds.
90 seconds?
Give me your elevator pitch about what it's like to be David Swedburg.
It'll take me 90 seconds just to think of what's going on in life. But in general, I mean, so Remy, our baby, she's coming up on 4 months next Thursday. And so she's just grown like a weed, and it's just kind of, it's amazing to watch that, and been a lot of fun just to, like, she's getting a personality, and you can actually play with her now. And it's not just like, oh yeah, you're a cute little bump on a log and you're gonna lay there.
Yeah, she's a person now.
Yeah, there's something amazing about like
kidding.
My daughter will smile and laugh at me as I make strange faces and all that. So that we got standing desks at work.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that because in general I have like a ton of back and neck pain just like from the hard manual labor I did in my like teen years and stuff. And so sitting for 10 hours, 8 hours a day at a desk kind of really brings me a lot of pain. So to be able to stand sometimes and stuff is cool.
Nice.
And I went to the Empowered Living workout at the park last Saturday, and holy crap.
Are you out of shape, Dave?
I am so out of shape, and it was so hardcore. Like,
bad life.
I had not actually, I've run off and on in the past 3 years, but not any actual lifting or, intense workouts.
Right, where your heart rate's, really getting up.
Yeah, and it was a solid 45-minute workout where you're running from station to station, and dude, I was wishing that I had a 1-story house so I didn't have to walk up and down stairs for a couple days.
That's
but
awesome.
It feels good.
That's good. Yeah, you went over your 90 seconds, but
yeah, sorry.
No.
How about you, Dan?
I have a marathon coming up October 22nd. So, what is that? It's in like 2.5 weeks. So I'm pretty excited for that. I'm hoping that I'm prepared. I ran a half marathon last April. That went pretty well. I've been running semi-consistently since then, so yeah, I'm pretty stoked for it.
So what's the longest run you've done to prepare so far?
Yeah, 16.5.
Oh, okay. Did you already say that? No, I just wasn't listening.
I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Sorry.
So I was thinking to get an 18-miler in as well. So I might do that this weekend. It'll be about
cool.
Yeah, it'll be 2 weeks out. So,
what's the pace you keep when you're running something like that?
Right.
Or do you even know?
So yeah, no, I do. I ran let's see here. About a month ago, I ran a 12-mile.
Okay.
And I ran that in a 7:33 pace, which I was super stoked on. I was like, I am in shape. And then
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then honestly, my running's been a little less consistent in the past few weeks. I ran the 16.5 at about an 8:30 pace.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, it was 4.5. I kind of took it slower just because it was that much longer.
Right. Do you have a goal for the marathon? Like what?
Yeah, I
you'd
had
like to
one.
be
It's
at?
like written down. It's on my dresser, but
Okay.
it's too lofty. So I'm sort of figuring out.
6-minute miles.
No, I think. Yeah, I think. What was my goal? I'd like to run it under 3 hours,
Sure.
which is closer to like a 7-minute mile.
Wow.
So that might be like a year or two away.
Okay.
If I really get back in shape.
Yeah.
I've ran one marathon before, and I ran it at a 7:30 pace.
Okay.
7:20 something pace.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll ever break 3 hours, but
Sure.
if I keep getting in good shape, I kind of got out of running shape, and I'm like on the journey back to getting, living up to my Twitter handle, Dan Runs Fast.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe to shoot for this marathon to run like an 8-minute pace,
Okay.
and then schedule another marathon for next year and
Cool.
and kick it into better gear. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's what I've got coming up. I've been working a little bit on my website, which I'm planning, danieltiernan.com, which I'm planning to launch the first week in 2018.
Okay.
And a lot of what I'm working on, some of it's the website stuff, photos, but I got to do some more writing because it's going to feature essays, papers, some more academic papers, stuff I've done in school,
Sure.
and then short stories. So I've written a couple short stories, and then I want to write another one, and get some content loaded up in the site.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm gonna launch a blog on it too. I came up with the idea earlier this week. What am I calling it again? Labels, brief stories inspired by product packaging.
Hey, sounds good.
Yeah, that's my value proposition right there. It's
Cool.
my content tilt. So if anybody follows me on Instagram, I take a lot of photos of different craft beers, whiskey labels, cereal, foods I'm eating, anything.
Right.
And the post won't be so much about the products themselves, but I want to take like the imagery from the label
Yeah.
and sort of use that as like a springboard to write like a really short story.
Sure.
And sort of use it as like a kind of like a creative prompt.
Yeah.
And my goal eventually is like, I think when I want to release a book sometime in the future, possibly fiction, which I'm sort of learning how to write right now.
Okay.
So my goal is to this will be like good practice for creative writing.
Yep.
To publish one every week. So kind of like the discipline of that, and then also hopefully build some type of audience around it that I can eventually
Sure.
sell my
So
book
yeah, the
to.
intent of your site is it kind of just for yourself to have something that like, okay, I have a site, I know that now I need to make sure I'm consistently pushing myself to be writing and be creative and putting it up there, or
Yeah, I mean, I want a website just because I want someplace that's sort of someone acts as an archive or a portfolio of the different writing that I do, and then also, like you're saying, it's a motivator to actually write. Because, I mean, at least for me, it's less... If you can share it, it's more motivating to write it. And then
for sure.
if it's on my own site, then I completely control it versus doing it on like a Medium or a Facebook or Instagram.
Right.
I don't technically own that content, or I can't really control the algorithms around who sees it.
Yeah.
Not that social media is a bad place for sharing your stuff, but it'll be something that's like permanent that I can do.
Yeah.
And then just also for like career stuff, if people want to see examples of my work or see what I'm doing, or see if I'm a good writer, they can go to my site.
Sweet.
And it's also a creative outlet because I think I tweeted. I don't want to say this. I already tweeted it. I tweeted earlier this week. I was like, corporate communications, taking interesting stories and making them boring, which is maybe a little dramatic, but
yeah, probably.
I found like working in the marketing or public relations department, there's obviously like a core brand, which is super important that you have to adhere to. And there's, salespeople, and there's, competitors and all these type of things that you sort of have to like not offend. And
Right, and when you're getting a story, like at the end of the day, you still need to spin it back to
like
emphasize
how good your company is.
Emphasize your company and the focus that instead of just like having a conversation and seeing where that truly goes.
Yeah. And I don't have such a big problem with like making it a positive spin towards my company, because obviously if you work for a company, hopefully you somewhat believe in the products and the services that they offer.
Yep.
But it's not as much as a creative outlet. And so I sort of went into PR, marketing, comm, whatever, with the hope of doing creative things with my career.
Yep.
And so far, my very short time in my career, that has been an outlet for creative things.
Yep.
But it's just more limited, obviously, in a corporate setting.
Right.
And so having something, if you had to write something at work and it wasn't super inspiring that day, I can go home and I can write something that's completely, uncensored, or that comes from my creative ideas or my point of view, and then just have the freedom, and that sort of like releases that creative itch.
It shows how much you love writing, though, because for most other people, they'd be like, I write all day. I'm not going to look at a computer screen until tomorrow morning when I have to go back to work.
Right.
But that's cool. I mean,
yeah,
you're doing what you're passionate about if you get to do it all day, and then you still actually want to do more of it when you get home.
Yeah. I don't every night. But there are definitely times, and it's sort of a discipline you've got to build up. But yeah, it's something I still want to. Yeah, that is nice.
Good job, Dan.
Thanks,
You got a degree for something that you actually enjoy, and you're actually using it.
Woo!
You're like the 3%.
Yeah, man.
I pulled that statistic out of nowhere. So
the 3%.
We can make a movie about it. The 3%. A life story of Daniel Tiernan. At Dan Runs Fast.
Yeah, I think I just I just really try to do things I'm either good at or I like. And I always try to be super self-aware and figure that out, so I don't have to do stuff I don't want to do.
Sure.
Like in college, it's I'm figuring this out so that I actually take value in it, and I'm not one of those people that's I just can't wait till this is over, or why am I at school? It's
right.
If I'm going to be here, I'm going to figure out what makes it good, and then take value in that.
Yep. That's awesome. So we kind of rambled for 20 minutes. Hopefully we haven't put anyone to sleep. But
that was an amazing monologue. That's like the thesis of my life, bro.
Awesome.
Quick credit. No, just kidding. Let me be offended, man.
Hey.
I'm a millennial.
Everyone has to be offended about something these days.
It's the social capital. It's if you're more offended, then it's you're more moral, you're cooler or something.
And I think I just get offended at people being offended. So I guess at least you're
still offended.
I'm still sticking with the cool kids, just on the other side of the fence usually. But that's okay. So we did a thing today. We got tons of feedback.
Tons.
Because our guest canceled on us fairly last minute, and hopefully we'll have him back.
Oh, right. We did have we were going to have a guest on.
Yep. Not to name names, but
Corey Poppy. Corey Poppy.
And you should feel ashamed.
No, of course not. I'm sure Corey will be on pretty soon. It's actually it's his birthday today.
Who wouldn't want to spend their birthday with David and Dan?
I don't think he realized it was his birthday when he said yes.
Right.
Or he either did, and then his fiance was like,
yeah, it was like,
aren't we going to celebrate your birthday? And he's probably like, oh, crap, I got to cancel on those guys. So
no, it's acceptable.
Happy birthday to Corey Poppy.
Yes.
Happy birthday to my dad.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's also my dad's birthday.
Shout out to
Spencer Tiernan.
Spenny. He's a whopping 38 years old.
Yeah, 47.
Close. So we threw out to the social media world to give us some ideas for what maybe y'all would like to hear us talk about on the episode. And we got a little bit of feedback, at least. One from Gabe Grimley, who
former guest.
Former guest. And apparently he doesn't care what I have to say about his topic because he
addressed it
said he would specifically like to see what Dan has to say about it, but you're out of luck because I have a mic, and so I'll share my opinions too.
Okay. Do you want to read it or me?
I don't know. Do you have it up?
I have it up.
All right,
I was just
you read it.
if you had it up.
Oh,
Excuse
you, Dan.
I purposely did that in the mic because I'm a goofball and not mature. Okay. Gabe Grimley comments, Dan, I'd love to hear your thoughts on a website shared on Facebook that may be similar to ChristianRepublicanRealNews.net.
.net. That's a
or conservativetruth.blogspot.com. They get shared on Facebook as gospel truth. Should Facebook care about that? Here's a recent Zuckerberg quote. Trump says, okay, now quoting Zuckerberg, sorry. Trump says Facebook is against him. Liberals say we help Trump. Zuckerberg wrote, both sides are upset about ideas and content they don't like. That's what running a platform for all ideas looks like.
cool.
So I think he wants...
I'm going to pull up those sites
Yeah,
on my
go
phone
for
and
it.
see what some headlines are for fun. But
yeah, that'll probably give it some context. But I think what Gabe's saying is, okay, you've got these, super one-sided websites that get shared on Facebook, and is Facebook to blame for that? Are they to blame for the spreading of, bad ideas, whether that be, racism, white supremacism, violent groups, whether liberal or on the right side? And I don't really think that Facebook is... I think I agree with Zuckerberg. Here's what okay, let me kind of form my thoughts here. I agree with Zuckerberg that if you're going to have a platform where anybody can say what they want, then you can't have extreme censorship of that. Maybe there's some sort of community guidelines, where you're keeping pornography off your site, or if there's a harassment issue, you're handling that case by case. Not saying that those things are easy, but within reason, there's things you can and can't say even under free speech that are against the law and stuff like that. But I'm a huge proponent of free speech, and I don't think that Facebook can be under the responsibility to define what truth is. And I think if you're asking Facebook to define what that is, saying this is your responsibility, you can't have this content on your site, blah, 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 that you're then entrusting them with filtering the truth out. And that should not be on Facebook. That should be on the individual. The individual should be able to figure out and discern what they're going to take in as far as media, what they're going to believe, and listen to the arguments presented to them and form, their best opinions or their best guess based off the information that they have. So what I don't agree with Zuckerberg is I think Facebook came out with the 10 rules to spot fake news closer to the election, and I don't think that Facebook should take a journalistic stance. I don't think they're journalists.
You're saying they should just let whatever happens and not really try and justify or explain the content that you see in your newsfeed. Is that what you're saying?
Well, okay. I know it's more complex than that. So that little rant there was my pure theoretical free speech. Yep. It's on the individual. It's not on the it's not on the government, Facebook being the government in this case, to decide what's true or not for you. That being said, there's obviously an algorithm of what's in your newsfeed. Facebook does control that. They can promote certain types of content. They can demote other types of content. Right. They're doing that all the time. That's part of their business model. They're serving ads to you.
Yep. And they're trying to be intelligent and feed you what you want to see.
Quality.
Also.
They have to maintain the quality of their site in order for people to continue to use it, in order to keep their audience engaged, as well as in order to sell advertising. Right. Which is their main and I think only revenue model right now. I don't think Facebook really does much except for sell ads as far as
I have no idea.
Products and services.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah.
That seems to be the only.
So what I'm guessing is the solution is just bury those in the feed, make sure anything. I'm not smart enough. I don't know. I don't actually know anything about algorithms. Like I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not.
I don't know. I think maybe Facebook kind of got themselves into trouble going away from just chronologically ordered posts. And instead, it's like, if this post is really popular, I'm going to see it. And so obviously during election time, there was all sorts of one-sided political posts that who knows how much is truth or fake news or whatever because of what one side is like, oh, let's share the heck out of this because it makes Trump look terrible, or let's share the heck out of this because liberals are stupid or whatever. And instead of just saying, if you are friends with these people, you're going to see their posts as they're posted.
Right.
They kind of got themselves in. They put themselves in that situation, I think.
Right. But how I understand the introduction of the algorithms into the system, and I know a lot of people complain about it, is to maintain the quality of the product. Because what they're really saying is they don't, when a company's doing that, they don't trust you to filter your own feed.
Sure.
Because let's say, so I'm friends with like 1,300 people.
Okay.
If I saw every post from all those people that post, then I would be seeing the friends and family that I interact with more.
Yep.
Less and less.
That's
like
true.
Your post would be buried within. Like if your post was given 1 point and everybody else was given 1 point, David, your post would be buried within those other 1,300 posts.
But what Facebook's solution was before that was you could make like your closest friends. And so then you get notifications, or you can set, I personally want priority of these people to see more of them.
Which you can still do.
But that's why I don't understand, I guess, like, what's the need to set up all these algorithms to say, you're going to see more. I'm going to try and feed you what I think that you want, instead of just saying, hey, as the user, you determine what you want. And if you don't want to see this person's stuff, unfollow them or unfriend them. If you want to see more of this person's stuff, like, subscribe to see all their posts and all that fun stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that might be a fair way to do it. From what I understand on like the most basic level, I think they're still like, how do they determine that I'm good friends with you and that I'll probably see your posts? Because I like them.
Because you like
them. So I am
stuff,
still, it's like a more indirect route of doing that.
Sure.
They go, Dan likes Dave, like every one of Dave's posts, so we're going to show him every one of Dave's posts.
Right.
And he hasn't interacted with so-and-so from junior high in 5 years, and so we're not going to show him anything from those posts.
Right.
And maybe if he takes the time to go look up that person, and like one of their things.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see, like, what would my Facebook feed be like
if I just had chronological.
Right. But here's the thing. If we take this and we scale it down to print media.
Yep.
If I subscribe to just whatever magazines I want, and you see like my mailbox as my news feed.
Yep.
Then I can create just as much of a bubble, right wing, left wing, extremist, as Facebook, and no one would ever talk to the mailman or to the company that prints paper and say, "Hey, you guys, you guys are the facilitators of this. You're the platform on which this piece of communication comes on.
Yep.
And you're responsible for the journalistic integrity of the content of these messages."
Right.
You don't blame the mailman. You don't blame the guy at the paper mill.
True.
And you don't blame the mailbox, anything. So I'm just saying, like, people are still choosing that, and they're receiving, whatever they want to see.
Right. I guess, I don't know, I have a hard time getting super fired up because I don't really care in general. But I don't know, I think it also comes down to, and I know you've said this before, but like, you're not like required by the government to have a Facebook account, and you don't pay Facebook to be able to have an account. So
it's a free service.
It's a free service. Why do you
Quit
really
complaining about something you signed up for free?
Be happy about it. And if you're not, just like if you're not happy with Yahoo, go get a Gmail account. Like, who knows what other social media platforms are out there that you can get all your friends, if you only want to see their stuff, get them to sign up and use that as your platform. Like,
yeah,
you're not, I guess you don't really have any stock or any real voice to say, Facebook, how dare you? Because
yeah,
you're choosing to subscribe to their free service.
And people can do a better job of filtering their feeds and say, don't show me posts like this. Every single post, you click on the right upper hand corner, the little arrow. And I think that's maybe why people complain, is because they actually don't take the time. You can still filter your feeds.
Right.
And you can say, show me this at the beginning of my feed every time, or show me more posts or less posts like that. So here's what I don't like from Zuckerberg. I think they have taken, and maybe this comment is taking a step back previously from the sort of journalistic responsibility that they seem to take on closer to the election. I don't think, if I were, I don't know, if I were them, I think I would position it as we're providing a service. We're a software company.
Right. And I mean, it's a super vague statement to really, I mean, he's just saying both sides are upset about the ideas and content they don't like. That's what running a platform for all ideas looks like. I don't know that you can really argue that, but I don't know that they really need to justify that and get into the mix and get into, right? I know there was conversations, I don't know a whole lot about it, but of like, well, are companies like Facebook, should they be worried? And I think that's Gabe's first point of like, should they be worried about filtering out Christian, Republican, realnews.net, which I looked up and I'm pretty sure Gabe just made that up. It's fake because it doesn't go anywhere.
Gabe with the fake news in the comments.
So I was kind of bummed because the other one is a blog that only has a post from 2014. So there's no fun headlines to look at here.
Oh. We get what you're saying, Gabe, though.
But yeah, I guess I don't think that Facebook needs to care. And I think that people need to just like have some personal accountability on the fact that, well, if you don't like what you're seeing, delete your Facebook account or delete that friend or do something, because it's not like you can't blame Facebook for the fact that your friend has this opinion, and and Facebook shouldn't be accountable to that. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Should we try to make an argument for the other, like a differing? Dave's running away from his mic to get a beer because he's done with his tea. Here's the flip side of that. Facebook isn't just a social media, company that provides a website for people to upload their stuff to.
Okay.
What if they are a media company? Facebook's a media company, and they have an
Are we talking hypothetical, or are you saying Facebook is kind of a media company?
Right, I'm saying like this is a different opinion you could take. Facebook is a media company with an audience, and they're delivering content to that audience. Now, most of the content is user-generated.
Okay.
But they still have a responsibility, just like in the I'm trying to think of how would this line up with print. You can write into the editor, and then there's those notes. That's user, like in a magazine.
Yeah.
Within the first few pages. Yep. That's user-generated content, and obviously an editor picks what goes in there and what doesn't, tries to get maybe one view this way, another view that way, whatever.
Yeah.
There's editorial responsibility there.
Yeah.
Facebook has that editorial responsibility to its audience in order to maintain some type of standard.
I think
and if they're serving certain sections of the audience one message and certain sections of the other of their audience other messages, then they're not really providing a balanced overall, somewhat journalistic.
I guess the question would be, we'd have to actually understand how their algorithms are working. Because if all they're doing is it's like, hey, the people that you like most frequently their posts are going to show up, or the people who pay us more money, their ads and different things are going to show up in your newsfeed more commonly. Like, then I don't think Facebook has any responsibility to give a balanced opinion, because they're saying, here's what you like most commonly, what you're subscribed to, we're going to give you more of it. But if Facebook is saying, like, hey, we agree more with this perspective on this thing, we're going to put more of these news articles balanced to this side or that in your news feed, then I think that it's another conversation. Like, if Facebook is making a decision based on their own agendas
their
and
own,
perspectives.
well, okay, right. And that's probably the heart of the question that I haven't really thought of yet.
And that's, I don't know.
And
I guess I don't understand.
Right. That's probably the fear. Maybe I'm just dumb. That's probably the fear, is like they're swinging it to this side or they're swinging it to that side.
Right.
And you're like, you have all this influence. You know, the consumer is maybe like, you have all this influence. You need to be responsible with that.
Right. But then it still comes down to, you choose what pages you like, who you're friends with, and so you can control what's in your newsfeed. Like, you can, because if you don't like seeing things from conservativechristiannews.net, you can find the 3 friends who like that and share that post and say, I don't want to see your opinions anymore, and you can filter that out. So it still comes down to, it's a free tool that you can subscribe to, and in reality, you can control the vast majority of what you're going to see.
But what if Zuckerberg and his buddies over at Facebook are part of the liberal elite? What if they're part of some, and they're
then you don't have to have a Facebook. Like,
and they're friends with Hillary, and they had a backroom meeting, and checks were cut, right?
Yep.
And Hillary was like, hey, any help I can get in the algorithms, which I don't understand, but my people tell me are really important as far as as far as mind share and public opinion. If you could throw in a few scripts there that influence, because
would that be technically wrong of them to do? No.
Right. Because any other company website, we're not putting
exactly.
We're not putting that pressure on them, because if joesdirtbikes.com down the street puts only good stuff about joesdirtbikes.com,
right, you're not going to be like, hey, why aren't you posting about
your competitors,
your competitor in the town over? Like, you should be saying positive things about them too, to make sure that we have a balanced perspective of why you're good and why they're good, so then I can decide. Like,
here's what I think is the key thing is, what does Facebook say about itself?
Yeah,
Facebook
that would be
says,
the question.
We're a media company, which I don't think they are. We're a media company, and we are going to provide you with unbiased journalist quality content.
Right.
Which there's no way they can say that, because it's user-generated content.
Right.
If they say that, then they have responsibility to do that based on the promise to their audience.
Right.
If they don't say that, and they say, here's a site, upload your stuff, make sure it's not like...
Right. Then they're allowed to share whatever agenda they want to in the ads and push things into your news feed, because you're not paying.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what it comes down. I mean, if we actually knew Facebook's stance, which we could have maybe been prepared and tried to find a few articles that talked about it. But I guess if it comes down to it and Facebook says, we're a social media platform, you can connect with your friends, see what they have to say.
Yeah.
And we have algorithms that try to give you better content based on what we think that you want to see. Then if you don't like it, then you don't have to have a Facebook, or get rid of some friends. Like, it's as simple as that, and I don't think that Facebook is accountable to any of it. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess some of the fear, and we can wrap this up, because I think this gets boring a little bit, but I think some of the fear is that Facebook and Google are sort of monopolizing the digital space right now.
Right.
And they have so they have the best products for search and for social.
Yeah.
And so they have the biggest audience, but like 85% of digital advertising goes to Google and Facebook as far as revenue goes.
Right.
So they just keep getting bigger.
See, Google's a little bit more of a tough, because I feel like Google should be like, they are a news source, right? So if I type in, recent news on Donald Trump, Google shouldn't be filtering what I see to meet their own specific agenda, or,
But they are filtering it because there's something that comes up as one, something
Right,
that comes
they
up
are.
as two. Like there's a first page, and then there's all those pages you never
Right.
see. So
Right.
they picked what showed up on that first
Right.
page.
And I think that's a tougher conversation than Facebook, because Google is supposed to be your search engine to be able to find information.
Mm-hmm.
And if I type in, like if I type in Las Vegas shooting,
What's going to show up?
what's going to show up? And is it going to be the 3 news networks that pay the most for advertising, or what's going to be there? But doesn't Google search, isn't that based on your site's SEO and your backlinks and all that? So it's kind of based on...
Yeah, it's not just what they're picking. It's based on user content that's registered
Right.
on Google's search engine.
Right.
So, and the thing is everyone goes to Google. So if you
Right.
create a website, it's stupid to not register it for Google.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So,
Which
I don't know if we ever did with Cowboys and
News
Unicorns.com. You can still find us on Google. I just don't know if we...
Right, if we're actually
I
registered
don't know if
with...
there's for any keywords or anything.
I don't know.
Should maybe go figure that out.
All right, moving on.
Uh,
Gabe did have another thing down here. Did you read that? Did you understand
read
that?
it?
Well, I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a continuation of the whole thought, or if it was, here's another topic idea. But it was
variation on a theme, maybe.
the perception of persecution in the American Christian church
Yeah.
is a threat to tax exemption persecution.
I think
don't
what he
know.
means is tax exemption a threat. I don't know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, we're not going to dive into that one without...
Is the perception of
understanding.
persecution in the American Christian church? I guess I could say, yeah, I think we got it pretty good, and I don't think we need. I would say we. I don't go to church. I think the church. I think the church in the U.S. has it pretty good, and I think their complaints compared to a lot of religious groups and compared historically to the persecution that the Christian church has received, I think it's small.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion.
Read the New Testament, then
Right.
then come back to me and say we're persecuted.
Yeah, it's a totally different... I mean,
I'm just like, but that was a time of intense persecution. There's also been times where the church or the Catholic Church or maybe the Eastern Orthodox Church has been in like complete political power.
right,
So
persecution probably isn't the right term, I think, though. If you're
No.
talking... Like, when people say... I guess definition of persecution. What's that? The true definition. But I mean, the Christian church is under fire by
The larger culture.
normal culture.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
that's not something to debate. But
for sure. Like, and so yeah, I should be fair. There's a lot of people dumping on Christians for their beliefs, and that's not fun if you're a Christian. And if you're not taken seriously because people are calling you names or, belittling you online, that's not fun. And a lot of times it's not fair to a certain point of view.
so persecution is hostility and ill treatment, especially because of race or political or religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
But a whole nother topic there would be, if you go by that definition, which maybe some people have a different definition of what you would call persecution
For
as
sure.
a Christian, but I see a ton of persecution from Christians then of all sorts of anyone who has a differing political belief,
Yeah. And the question is, like, are we all persecuting each other, or are we just disagreeing? Because I think that is two different things.
There's a lot of hostility out there, though. And based on that definition of it's hostility and ill treatment, I mean, a lot of this...
ill treatment is a pretty broad term.
It is. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess, yes, there's persecution of the church going on today. It looks a little different than it did in the New Testament because it's not like, hey, we're going to go kill everyone and all their firstborn children and all this different stuff.
Right. And in some places in the world, it is more physically violent.
More of a physical violence. But, yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, of course, there is persecution going on. But I think another huge piece of that is people take, like, differing perspective, all the differing perspectives that are out there as persecution, when it's like, well, someone having a different opinion than you does not mean that you are being persecuted. That means someone has a different opinion, and how about you talk to them and understand what they're thinking and help them understand what you're thinking.
Yeah. Here's a question, though. If you have... you can even take it in a wider context than just religion. If you have a political or a religious or a cultural, social opinion, right?
Yep.
And you say it on Twitter, right?
Yep.
And let's say
everyone should be able to have automatic rifles.
Okay, right.
All right.
You say that.
Yep.
And I also am on Twitter, and I have a YouTube show, and I have political commentary on that, and I have a huge following, right?
Yep.
And what I do most days is I go through and I scan through Twitter, and I try to find people with views that disagree with my audience.
Yep.
And I pull it up, and something, a tragedy happens, and then Dave is tweeting about gun rights, and I am disgusted, and I am appalled that he would do that. And my audience members will be too. And Dave's got like 100 followers, but I have like 500,000 and 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And I take a screenshot of Dave's tweet.
Yep.
And I put it up on my YouTube channel, and my 1 million subscribers start watching it. And I just tear you to shreds. I call you an idiot. I call you a murderer. I call you unfeeling. I say that the blood of the innocent is on your hands.
Wow. Okay.
If
I have guns, though.
Okay, right. If I do that, and then my audience, I say, go to Dave's handle, go to his Twitter, and just destroy him and tear him to pieces. Yep. And you're sitting at work, and all of a sudden your phone lights up like a storm. You just put out an opinion on social media.
Right.
You are being, in modern terms, publicly shamed, and you're being ridiculed. People are threatening you and your wife, people you've never met before.
Yep.
I would say that's persecution.
Yes.
So if I think if that's happening and there's a public shaming to that, I don't want to belittle that. So if that's happening to people in a religious or political context, I think that's legitimate. But I think if you get in an argument with someone and they call you a name on Twitter, and it's more of like a, and it's not a bullying thing and it's not a harassment thing, where like you disagree with you and then I say something I shouldn't have said.
Right.
I don't know if like something that small qualifies as I'm being persecuted.
Right. Well, and it's
like you're a bigot, Dave, and I tweet that at you one time.
Right. You personally might be persecuting me by definition, but I guess the piece
but would
there
you claim
is
persecution? Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I guess you technically could, but I think the bigger thing there is, why is anyone even surprised that as a Christian with conservative values that
people don't like it?
People don't like it and will persecute and harbor ill will and be hateful towards your opinions when they're voiced. Like, that's like in the Bible, you will be persecuted. Like, So it's not a surprise, and it's not something that we should, like, that I should go to Facebook and say, you know what? All these people are persecuting me. You should feel sorry for me. Like, yep, it's to be expected. Continue to speak what you believe is truth, right?
Yeah, and if you have a point of view and you share it with others, you're taking a risk that people are going to disagree with you and dislike you.
Right.
That is simply the risk of communicating, especially if you have an unpopular point of view.
Right.
And you can complain all day that your opinion is the unpopular one, and a lot of people do.
Right.
But I just think it depends on the severity of it.
Right.
Are people really bringing harm to you? Or do you actually have it pretty good and you shared your opinion in life? And that there's a balance in that. Like I'm not into
right.
just
This
like,
isn't to belittle the fact that, like, yeah, there's a lot of hateful things, and not to say, like, oh, if you're a Christian and people are saying terrible, hateful things to you when you're sharing your opinions, like, that's not to say that, hey, guess what, buck up and get over it. But in general, I think that people are just not good at being able to take criticism or contrasting perspective. Like, if you post something to social media and you have 1,300 friends, Dan, you should expect that somebody's going to disagree with it.
for sure, yeah.
And if you're going to post it, you should be convicted enough about it that, hey, yeah, I'm ready to have the conversation and defend my perspective, and, like, that should just be normal, and it shouldn't be something that...
Or ignore, like, I put a YouTube video out and there's a million comments and I'm like, I'm not going to read the comments.
Right.
Because I don't have time.
Right.
Or I don't know these people.
Right.
And choose. You don't make a choice.
Right.
But if you're... Yeah, I mean, and you've got to, you got to know yourself too. You got to know what type of, like, what type of hate can you take, and what kind of, like, you know, just the basic self-care of what you pay attention to, what you let influence. If there's a lot of people pouring negativity on you, you either got to choose to ignore it or get out of the spotlight of having, you know, a differing opinion.
Right.
I don't think you can. If you have the expectation that everybody's going to be nice to you, I think it's going to be a long, hard life.
Right.
Not that we shouldn't have a common belief, you know, in our fellow man in decency, but you've also got to realize that there's a certain percentage of the population that's not going to be nice to you, not going to like you. Most people are going to be fair to you, and they're not going to bother you, and they're not going to challenge.
Yeah.
At least for me, speaking as a white male with a job and education. For some people, I think and for some people groups, there's obviously a lot more people are questioning their life and their job and their legitimacy.
Yeah.
But it just seems like the church, back to Gabe's question, the Christian church in America has held position of power for so long that it's sort of weird to hear all this complaining, especially when it doesn't seem like all the power, the influences has completely left them yet. It's probably leaving. I guess it's probably, I don't, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you have a conviction about something, like, and you choose to speak it, you should be prepared for persecution in little or big ways. And if you're not able to handle that, then maybe don't post those types of things to your Facebook, or don't read the comments, as you said.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of common sense things that, and maybe part of it, right, is like an age gap, because I think a lot of frustration comes from, I think our generation is better. Maybe not.
Dude, our generation's just better.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, I think our generation is better at just being able to, like, put a perspective out there and then engage in healthy conversation. But that's not true in general. I don't know. Maybe
that's a bold that's a bold thesis statement.
It's not true.
Okay.
I think
you talked yourself out of it as soon as you said it out loud.
I take that back. I think in general people suck at being able to take criticism, learn from it, grow from it, choose which hills to die on, you know.
But that's hard because so many times it's like so many times we identify very strongly with our beliefs. I mean, it's why they call it like identity politics, where you're taking such a personal, or you're seeing your connection to these ideologies or these beliefs or these values, and you're saying, hey man, this is a huge part of me, which in some cases it kind of is. But if you identify so strongly with a certain point of view, you can also you can lose perspective and forget how to laugh at yourself, or forget even how sometimes to be humble or to listen.
Right.
And I think a lot of times in life it's the people who know how to listen who seem like they're successful.
Yeah.
And the people who are able to not only be self-aware but sort of, I mean, we've said it before, but kind of have that empathy, or even not empathy, but able to the ability to read others or see.
Yeah.
See their pain, but
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like this is sort of coming to we're just trying to have the answers.
Yeah,
I don't have the answers. I don't know.
The answer is you have to know yourself, right? You have to be aware enough of yourself. You have to be able to pick and choose. Okay, what things am I going to what hills am I going to die on? You have to understand a Facebook conversation. If you see somebody posting a contrary position, a Facebook comment on their status is probably not going to be an effective way to help shift their perspective. Right. It's just an overall self-awareness and awareness of others, of how you communicate. And if you're passionate about something or convicted about something, either put it out there with that conviction, and if you believe that it's worth dying on the hill, die on the hill. But otherwise, it's totally a personal thing.
Yeah.
The podcast with no answers.
Sorry, guys. We shouldn't pretend like we know what we're talking about.
Right. I don't know. Hopefully, at least someone's thinking, right?
Yeah. I won't apologize for this podcast.
Yeah.
My old soccer teammate Mitch also commented on the request on Facebook for questions, and he asked, what are you most excited for this upcoming winter? So, Dave, what is getting you jazzed about winter? It's fall right now. We're in the thick of fall. September's over. It's October. I'm wearing a hoodie. Life is good.
Yeah, flannel life.
But, yeah, Dave's wearing a flannel, but the tundra cometh.
Yeah, when I read this, I kind of laughed, and I was like, I don't know. I guess I look forward to fall.
I know. I was like, I don't look forward to the winter.
I generally don't look forward to the winter. Winters here in Minnesota are so long that you just look forward to them being over. But I was thinking about it, right? So I was like, okay, I need to actually try and give some type of a valid answer. So, I mean, personally, I guess the pros of winter are it's dark by the time that you leave work, 4:30, 5 o'clock. And so it means that you need to spend time. I'll spend a lot more time being intentional, with my wife, without having to have the, hey, I should go outside and do this or go run and do this. There's kind of that cozy, right? You go into the holiday season. There's more of that family focus in winter, I think.
Yeah, coziness.
Yeah,
that's actually what I was
cozy.
thinking.
And so I guess, if I equate winter to basically the holiday season, it's kind of just that family time. You have more of a focus on spending time together with people, being thankful, having conversations, drinking a warm drink, playing a board game.
Dark beer.
That's
what I was kind of thinking of.
Yep. And then I guess personally, like the thing that I'm looking forward to is just I'm going to set up a workshop for my pipes down in one of our basement rooms because I'm not going to do it out here in the garage. And since I won't have the temptation of disc golf and all those other things in the afternoons once I get off of work, I mean, the ability to really focus on that craft through the winter months and kind of hone that in. I'm pretty stoked about that, just to be able to spend more time working on my pipe business. So
yeah, that's good.
That's what I got.
Yeah, I just think of sort of the same thing, like being inside and reading. I've got, a stack of books to read. And I kind of like people. People are a little friendlier sometimes around the holidays. They get a little time off of work. There's sort of that. There's just sort of that mood where people slow down a bit, and I kind of like that. The New Year isn't a big thing for me. I always see. Yeah. My birthday is September 4th, and like right when fall is starting. And so I was kind of see like this is super egotistical, but I would see like September 4th is like the New Year. Like for me, like it's like it's like I'm a different age, like just cool, symbolically, like it was our school started at the same time.
Right.
It was the new season. So
yeah,
the New Year is less of a like amp me up and ready to go because I've kind of already thought about.
Do you do New Year's resolutions? Have you ever done those? Is that a thing?
Not really. This last year I kind of had this mock one. I'm not sure but my was to drink more whiskey and less beer, because you're like you're getting, it's like midwinter at that point, and I don't know, beer just makes you chubbier. So I was getting a little too chubby, and so
well in winter, yeah, that's the hard thing with winter is exercise. Mm-hmm. That's why basically New Year's resolutions for Minnesotans is to get a gym membership and start working out, because you've had like 2-3 months of cold where you've just been inside and you're like, crap, put on 10 pounds. So before spring comes, I got to start getting back into shape.
My goal was really bad because I didn't have like clear metrics. I didn't know how much beer and whiskey I drank in 2016, nor have I measured in 2017. So definitely a failure of a New Year's resolution. Although I might have done it. I might have drank more whiskey than. Well, that's it's servings.
So yeah,
not
chosen whiskey more frequently than beer,
but I'm not sure I actually have. For the first couple months, I was just.
You've probably drank less beer than you would have if you weren't consciously like, oh, I should drink whiskey sometime. But
I have no idea.
I don't know. Quantity-wise, actual
I'm sure I drank more beer.
But that's okay.
I hope so.
Right. We should do a New Year's resolution podcast, because then all of our listeners will hear our goals and will shame us for them.
Oh, man. Then we'll be motivated by shame.
Shame
That's no
and
good,
guilt
Dave.
are the best motivators, Dan.
No, it's passion and love for life.
You know, it's funny because you and I are so opposite on that.
Yeah, dude. You're like a huge fan of guilt and stuff.
That sounds terrible. But personally, like for my own driving factor, my own inadequacies drive me to be better and focus.
I think mine do too.
More than and not, I guess for me it's like I recognize them and then I do better, whether it's like, oh crap, today I did not focus and I was not as productive in work as I needed to be. I'm going to be more productive tomorrow. Whether it's that where you're like, you feel shame, like, okay, yeah, I'm being paid. I need to make sure I'm being as productive as I can be. That just helps me strive to be better, though. And it doesn't, for some people, I know that can put them in like a tailspin of like, I'm a failure. and I don't live up to my own personal goals or others' expectations, and like it can depress them. But
I think what you're kind of talking about, which I cannot think of the TED Talk. She's like she's a PhD. She's super. Oh, I can't think of her name. I'll think of her name later. But she talks about like the differentiation between guilt and shame. And her kind of explanation is like, guilt is like, hey, I did something wrong. That was dumb. I recognize that. I want to try to do better. Shame is like what you're talking about, where people say, I am. They make like I am statements like, I am a bad person. I am a loser.
Sure.
Because then you're directly speaking to like your own character, your own nature.
Right.
And you're sort of
that's
self-defeating. Because
if somebody does make a
mistake.
Well, for me personally, like if someone comments on my character, well, it happened today, not like commenting on my character, but I scared my daughter. And so then my wife, like I just spooked her when I walked up to her and I picked her up and she's screaming. And so then my wife was like, give me the baby. And I'm like, no, like I'm her dad. I can
handle
comfort
it.
her. Like I scared her. I can make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, give me the baby, you know? And so personally, right, that made me feel like, well, you're not adequate for your own daughter, right? Like, so when those types of things, that can put me in a poor place mentally and in a funk. But in general, I guess I like to stay aware of my own like personal struggles and inadequacies, and those help drive me to continually be learning and growing and getting better. But
you got a lot of them, so
different.
you got a lot of motivators, Dave.
Well,
I
don't know if you're the same way, but like when it comes to like annual review time for like jobs and stuff, I hate a review that just says like, hey, you did really good. Like, we're really happy with everything that you've done. You know, you did this project and you did good, and you've grown, you know, far more than we expected you to be at this point. You know, you met those expectations within months, and like you're doing awesome.
You don't like those?
Like, it feels good, but it doesn't drive me. Like, I want, hey, I'm super proud. You're awesome. And here are the things that I want you to work on and that you can improve. Like,
but don't you think you already know those things? Aren't you like self-aware? You're already like, hey, I need this. So then if
I'm self-aware of them in general, but
I'm pretty sure you are.
I have a hard time, like, if I feel like I am like already over 100% of the expectation, I have a hard time then, like, I get in those stagnant stretches where it's like I'm already doing fantastic, exceeding expectations, like, and then I start to get bored of like, well, I need to be challenged. And so it's that, hey, this is what I want to see you improve on. It's that challenge of, okay, I still have room to grow within what I'm doing.
So you like external challenges?
Totally.
Like somebody to say, hey, man, let's do this. I am the opposite.
Really?
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's like, don't tell me.
So, like, if an annual review comes around, you want to be told you're doing awesome. I'm good to go
because I already have my own goals. I already have my own challenges. Yeah. And if some, like, I'm like, I'm not an external. Somebody tells me, like, hey, you need to improve this, I'm like, yeah, no, I need to improve on other things, and I think I'm fine, and, like, quit telling me what I need to do.
Sure.
And so it actually, I shut down in that situation. I go,
interesting.
Okay, I don't care. Like, quit telling me, quit trying to run my life.
Right.
Quit trying to give me challenges. I don't trust you.
Right.
That's more my feeling. And I'm not sure if that's because, hopefully it's not because I'm lazy. I don't think I'm lazy, but
right.
Hopefully it's because, I already have my own goals and challenges and own motivations, and I think also too, there's an element where I might already be self-critical enough where it's like, don't dump on me. Like, I already know I'm not perfect.
Right.
You didn't have to bring it up.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely need to work on that because it's good also to have those external. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have trust issues with that. Somebody tells me, yeah.
So, like I'm the person. So if I have that or that review, or I have that conversation with someone, and they're like, "Hey, I'm super appreciative. This was great." I'm the person who's like, "Hey, awesome. Can you tell me the 3 things I could have done better, or that like I could have improved?"
I think I did that during my last review.
So it's more if you initiate it,
then I feel fine.
Then you feel like, hey, like I'm asking for it, but if it comes out of the blue, I guess maybe that's part of it is if you feel like it's out of the blue and you're unaware of it, like, hey, Dan, like you're awesome, but you really need to improve upon this, and you feel like up to that point you weren't aware of that. Is that where it really gets you? If it comes more out of the,
me. I'll pay attention.
No worries. So if a criticism or like hey, here's somewhere that you really need to improve comes like unexpectedly, then it makes you shut down. But if you were aware of it, that it was like, hey, this was on my goals for the year, and we're just coming back to it, and it's like, hey, you met all these things. It was awesome. This is still an area for improvement. Is that easier to receive, or?
I think what I don't like the out of the blue, and I think sometimes in those moments where it's like, yeah, if you would just, you need to get, I think it's like I feel like you're not like the person who's saying that isn't trusting me that I'm either already trying,
sure,
or doesn't trust me enough to like just make a suggestion without sort of I think my fear is like you've been holding that back for a while,
right?
And now you're telling me,
right? I'm
a professional. I know what I'm doing. Could you just clearly communicated that earlier on,
right?
And then you wouldn't have to be saying like you need to improve this,
right?
I think that's sort of
right. So it's just
like, could you have just defined those expectations a little clearer in the beginning, and then I would have met them,
right?
So I think that's sort of, and I'm not saying my point of view is super healthy. I'm just kind of like.
No, I think that's
the emotion.
Well, and I think that totally comes from it depends on the person, right? Because if it's from someone who is like fully invested and you trust them, they're walking alongside you every step of the way, that hey, here's something to work on might sting a little bit. You're going to be like, hey, you have my best interest in mind. You know that I'm working on things, and it's not just a direct criticism of like, hey, I've wished that you had done this for the last year, and you just didn't do it, and so now I'm going to tell you that, like, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, like you
feel disappointment.
You're lacking in this area.
Sure.
Or,
yeah. I
also think like, man, maybe we should use like an example, but maybe not like a work example, but
a McDonald's example. You could,
right.
As long as you show up on time, McDonald's, they don't care, right?
I think sometimes too, it's like if there's a criticism, like maybe you're not doing something, and I actually have a reason why I haven't done that.
Right.
And in my head, my reason makes sense. And I don't like the thought of like, no, we just have different reasoning. Right. And I don't like the assumption like I didn't think it through. It's like, no,
right, like you're not,
because I'm trying to be an intentional person, and so I'm like, no, I'm thinking through, and I have a reason for why I did this and why I didn't do that.
Right.
And please don't assume I don't have reasons. But again, that's all just like that gut reaction, like self-defense.
Right.
What we were talking about before, like when someone challenges you. Yeah, those are my like not well balanced.
Right. It's interesting though how different people are, because I'm, like I said, I'm totally the opposite. I'm just like, hey, like even if that's coming from a place of criticism, and you're saying like, hey, I'm disappointed, I'm the type of person who's like, all right, well, give me a week. Like,
okay,
I will meet that and exceed that, and like.
Right.
I have no doubt in my own personal ability of like, I'll accomplish that, and I'll accomplish more than that.
Yeah.
So thanks for telling me. Now I know to make sure that you're aware of it. Because it's some of those things, right? It's like, well, that might be something I'm trying to personally develop already. And I just didn't realize that you wanted to be aware that I'm working on that, right?
Yeah.
And so then it comes as like, well, I'm already working on that. But
right. And like you're saying, like, I got this and I can do it. And
right.
I think
I love the challenge though. Right? Like if you if you said, "Hey Dave, like you probably couldn't run a marathon, could you?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I could run a marathon."
Right.
Like, when are we doing it?
Right.
You know.
I wouldn't say it to you because I think you could, but
right. But like any type of challenge, like in any realm, and I guess that's probably where it becomes unhealthy for me, is that it's like I would like make a fool of myself to accomplish it. So like there was I think of this time, so I was like at this youth camp, and I was like a senior in high school, and there were all these like couple of my buddies, and they're all football and basketball players, and they're like 6'3", and you know, totally ripped and tall. And so we decided to have a competition to see who could jump over all of these desks. So like we put 2 desks side by side, and then 3 desks side by side, and then 4, and then stacked one. And then I think after 4, they're like, all right, guys, let's stop. Like, we're good. Like, everyone did it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what if we stack one desk on top of the 4 desks? And they're like, you can't do that. So we stack a desk on there. I take a running start. I like vault over it. I make it over, but I catch my feet.
Oh no.
And I rug burn my face. So that's my competitiveness will say, hey, even though you should be able to recognize there's people here who are just more capable, and it's totally fine to say, hey, like, my pride can handle it. Right. You're 6'6" and I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
Like, I can't jump the same amount of lengths as you. I'll be
completely.
like, I'm gonna do it, and then I'll skin my face and have a rug burn for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, different motivators though. I think for me is I have this fear that other people are trying to design my life, and I want to be the person that designs my life and that picks. So like let's say I didn't run marathons, right?
Right.
And then you were like, and you did, and you were like, Dan, I bet you can't run a marathon. And then I was like, I'm going to show Dave I can run a marathon. And then
right.
And then I go out and train, and then I do it and stuff.
Yep.
I don't like that, because then it's like, oh, that didn't come from me.
Sure.
So the only reason I'm running a marathon is because of Dave. And to me, that's not a good enough reason.
Right.
Because now I have to do all of that work on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because of the influence of somebody else. So I've given them I've given them an edge in my life. And I think I'm just scared of that because why am I scared of that? But
well, I think
because it's trust. You're entrusting you're trusting in the values that they're placing on you. And with that trust comes the risk that they actually don't know what they're talking about, or they're going to waste your time. And I think the biggest fear for me is I don't want anybody to waste my time.
Sure.
Or my energy.
Right.
And I quickly lose disrespect if I feel like you're wasting my time.
Sure.
Not so much in the micro sense of small talk or or like little annoyances and stuff, but like in the bigger picture.
Right.
Where something like running a marathon would take a lot of investment.
You're taking away from my ability to invest in myself in this list of things that I am
right. Like if you started training for a
towards.
marathon, you couldn't make pipes as much.
Right.
So to me, it's like if you did that, it's like, well, Dave, that's not your goal. You just have like this, I could do it
totally
type thing.
And
that wouldn't actually help you accomplish your goals of this winter hanging out with your wife and moving your thing down there.
Right.
It would make you just like run in the freezing cold, and I would laugh.
Right. And I would waste hours of each day because I would be out running.
And then you accomplish something that, I guess, unless you turned out you really liked running, you'd accomplish something that maybe you couldn't take as much pride in as if you set the goal yourself, or were inspired by someone else, not like
right
challenged into it.
Right. I think, I think it does depend, because there's certain lines, right? Because it's like, I do enjoy to run, and I think it would be awesome to be able to say I did a marathon. So it would be personally motivating for me for somebody else to like say, hey, like, we're going to do a marathon, and I think that you should do it. Like, that personal challenge would drive me to actually accomplish it, where I'm otherwise would be like, I'm working on all these other things, and I'll like,
I think it's completely different. You got to judge in that moment.
Right.
Could this be of value to me? And maybe
Right.
I just don't recognize it now.
Right.
And I got to test the waters.
Right.
And Dave's challenging me to make pipes, but I don't think I can make pipes. But what if I actually can? And maybe I should try it.
Right. And I think we're talking physical things. So then like, there's a whole nother realm of like, if somebody says, hey, Dan, I think you need to work on your interpersonal communications because they're lacking. Like, that's a whole nother level.
Right.
That's just a whole nother element of it, because
I actually really care about that though, so I might take that to heart.
You would take. That's
I
why
like,
I said
man,
it.
I'm going to get better at conversations and
That's why
and
I said
meet
it,
more
because
people.
you're good at that. But those are the types of things that I appreciate, because if somebody tells me that, like, it means, personally at least, it means that they're aware. Like, if it's actually something that then resonates with me, like, yeah, I could do better at that. Like, if, hey, like, you need to work on change management and communication a little bit better. Like, and if I look at that and I say, yeah, you're right, I'm going to be like, hey, thank you for caring enough to be honest with me that that's somewhere I'm lacking. Please help me, like, actually grow in that. Any place that you see that it, like, I'm falling down in it.
I think it also helps too is if the person challenging you does some sort of investment. I think what I don't like is if they say, "Hey, go do this," but they don't give you training, and they don't.
Oh, totally.
They don't provide you with the materials to succeed. Where if somebody's just like, "Hey, you need to be a better writer,"
right,
but then they just didn't ever do anything about it,
right,
that'd be silly. But if they're like, "Hey, you can be a
Dan,
better writer.
I want to see you improve your writing, and
let's do a challenge together of writing a blog post every day in the month of November." And then you're like, oh, hey, I see this person's willing to put some of their own skin into the game,
right,
or help me, or maybe let's say they had an expertise, and they're like, hey, you write stuff, send it to me, I'll give you feedback,
right,
and then you actually they were actually good,
right,
and they gave you,
right.
Then obviously you'd be stupid to be like,
and
no, I can figure it out on my own, I can define my own goals, like. That would just be dumb.
Right. And it comes back to a place of relationship, right? Like, if any old person comes up to me and says, like, hey, you're a terrible husband, I'm going to be like, you don't even know me. Like, you're an idiot, and I'm not going to take... Like,
you don't even know me, bro.
I actually personally will be like, what? Like, later, what in the world got him to think that? And, like... Then I might, like, go into an internal turmoil of, okay, who told him I'm a terrible husband and why does he think that? But in the moment, I'm going to be like, you want to fight?
You want to fight
me? What makes you think I won't cut you?
Dave, what if we fought each other and recorded it for, like, YouTube, Facebook video? That might, just to get like some pub for the podcast.
That would be interesting.
I can't do like.
I think
you would beat me if it was like fists. You would destroy me because I've never been in a fist fight.
Right.
If we were wrestling, I would be more interested in that.
Yeah, you're a scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I weigh more than you. You'd still probably beat me because I'm not very good at wrestling.
Yeah, I probably would, but we could do it like the pay-per-view fights. So we would get people to actually like pay money, and both of us would get a payout at the end of the fight. Like, hey, Dan and Dave are going to fight. If on crowdfunding, we get $2,000, and the winner will get $1,200, and the loser gets $800.
I don't think we're interesting enough to raise that money.
Yeah, probably not. And we'll donate some of it towards
the
your
whiskey
favorite
fund.
charity, or that too. Whiskey.
What would be like a ridiculous, like besides just wrestling, Like Dan and Dave wrestle like in the winter,
Like
right?
a polar bear?
No. Like in
But
their
that would be
like in
interesting.
their underwear in the snow.
I think our wives would probably like pay money because they'd think that it would just be hilarious to see us make fools of ourselves. But
My
I
wife
don't
would be
think
like,
anyone else.
What is Dan doing? Why is he?
You would, well, we both. You would have the complete advantage in an underwear snow wrestle because you would blend in with the snow. It's like camouflage.
Right? You wouldn't be able to find me.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Uh,
Maybe we have to diss each other more on this podcast, Dave.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I mean,
we're a good match because we don't agree on everything, but
Right.
we have. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like in bigger macro things we have agreement, but we're definitely coming from two different places.
oh yeah. I
And
mean,
Yeah.
this
Go ahead.
conversation of like what motivates you, like I could say, well, Dan, I mean, you have to be able to take criticism from others in order to grow as a person.
Which would be fair.
Right. But you could also, and you like you said, like, well, if you just take every single challenge, like you're not actually going to do things that are fulfilling to you. It's going to take away from the important things that you should be investing in your life. And that's also true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we're a good balance.
Do you think we could pull off a fake feud? Like have a whole podcast where we're just pissed at each other, but not actually?
I think we could probably find a topic or two specifically that we actually adamantly disagree on and actually have. We've had many conversations like that. It'd be interesting to actually record it.
Yeah, we haven't brought much of the antagonism
Right.
into the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like we had the discussion on like perspectives on homosexuality, and I lightly disagreed, but I could have disagreed much
Right.
more, and it would have been interesting. But the other piece is,
Sometimes that gets boring when you disagree.
and I don't want people to like finish an episode and have this awkward feeling like they just sat in on a little bit of a fight. You know how, did you ever have like any friends where you were over at their house and then their mom yelled at them for something and you're like the awkward bystander?
It was super awkward.
Like, I don't ever want someone to sit on the podcast and be like, wow, they just had a really awkward argument, and then I'm pretty sure that neither of them were right, and
They're immature.
and it was kind of like those topics or their points weren't well founded, really. And it
Yeah,
was a
who are
weak-
these assholes?
Yeah, like guys, just stick to talking about beer.
One time
But
it was let's see here. End of my freshman year, end of my buddy Charlie Abraham's sophomore year, and his mom was coming to pick him up, and I was helping him like get his room ready,
yeah,
and he really just like did not like pack his things at all,
yeah,
and like we barely got anything done, and then his mom showed up to like take him home, and she was like expecting all of the like
Sure.
everything to be
Him to
boxed
be
up.
ready and-
Yeah.
yeah.
And there was like she got there and she had to like help us pack everything. And so I was definitely the buffer there because I could tell she was not that happy with him.
Right.
But I was the friend like, oh, let's still be nice and smile. And
And on the ride home.
shout out to Charles for not being prepared for his mom.
Yeah. That's rude, dude. Come on.
I don't think he listens, but
Well, that's rude too.
geez, Charles.
Okay.
Okay. Dude, we love you listeners. We want to thank you so much for listening. It's if any of you are still listening at our
Hour and a half. 94 minutes.
94
exactly.
minutes, we really appreciate it.
Yeah. And any feedback that you do have on things we talk about, things you'd like to hear more about, if you want to come on the podcast and talk about something,
message us.
let us know, because that's kind of the whole point, having conversations.
It'd be super helpful if some of you or all of you went to iTunes and you gave us a review, or Google Play. I don't know. They have reviews on Google Play. I'm sure,
so.
but I don't use it. But that would really help us. Maybe like 4 or 5 stars if you think it's that good. If you don't, give us an honest rating. But that would really help us as far as that platform goes.
Yeah, definitely.
Please go do that. If you haven't yet, like us on Facebook, subscribe on iTunes or your podcast device. That's super important as well. Make sure we're getting in your inbox every week. We come up with a show every Wednesday. So
Hump day. It's actually Thursday today, but it will be Wednesday when you listen to this.
Right. Yeah, and any feedback, if we can do a better job, if we keep talking about Facebook and it's getting boring,
right?
We'll try to, not cry when you give us some honest criticism.
Right. Yeah, and if you have any great ideas for ridiculous things Dan and I can do or topics we could debate, hey, we're open.
Or life advice questions, we'll give you some.
That would be fun.
I listened to this one podcast
We can keep you anonymous if you want.
Yeah, or we can say your name.
Oh, so Joe says his girlfriend is mad at him for cheating. Well,
Joe's wondering what he should do in this situation. Well,
here,
Joe,
we'll
build a time machine.
We'll tweet out to your girlfriend here real quick.
Joe's he's not a bad guy. It was
No, he's a terrible dude.
Tweet to his girlfriend like, yeah, you should probably break up with Joe.
Break up with Joe. Sorry, Joe.
Come on the podcast and tell us about how much it hurts.
We have never had a girl on the podcast. Would we ever have a girl on the podcast?
I was thinking that we really need a woman on the podcast.
A balanced opinion. It would be interesting.
There's been so many male perspectives so far in the first 10 episodes. I don't know if we're gonna balance. I don't know if we can claim that. I don't know if we can claim that.
And it has to be a girl who's willing to smoke and drink.
It doesn't have to. She could drink.
She doesn't have to be, but it would make it more interesting. Yeah. Not really.
Why would it make it more interesting, Dave?
I don't know. Because people would see that girls can smoke pipes too, and then girls would start buying pipes from Swedburg Pipe Co., and it would be great.
Yeah. Have you looked at doing the pipe thing? Do you know any of the stats in that? Like what the female demographic is as far as the market?
I have not actually done any research, but
because obviously alcohol and whiskey and stuff, women drink all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean there's if you just go by my Facebook or my Instagram interactions, there are 5 female accounts of legitimate women who are just hey, I'm a pipe smoker like the rest of you. Out of the 400 accounts that I
so maybe not a huge thing
so,
within the female community.
Right. Not to say that it's not a thing, but yeah, it's definitely probably predominantly a male pastime. I don't know, hobby.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anyways, we keep rambling on.
Yeah, all right, we're done.
Donezo. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Peace out.